After being trapped in Jera's force field, Gestella began to gather her energy. She then noticed, the more she used her power the more she experienced pain. Jera then said, painful isn't it? The more you use your power, the more the pain you experience. And you won't be able to get out either. You can't even use that teleportation technique you're so proud of. I took my time and made this specifically for you. Gestella, unfazed by her words then said, something like this won't be enough to hold me. Iodoro could feel her resolve. At that moment Gestella then began to release her red mist aura. Even though it was painful, she released more aura than before, her eyes filled with determination. She then began to gather all the energy she released, and in that moment she directed everything to the force field. Upon contacting the force field a large explosion occurred. Even after the explosion the force field was left unscathed. Jera then said, I told you, it won't work. Gestella was on her knees bleeding as she thought to herself, after exerting so much power the force field still didn't break. Iodoro then told her to give up, since struggling will only bring harm to her body. Jera then told Iodoro to stop talking nonsense as she asked him, do you think Gestella would give up just because you locked her like this? Gestella stood up as she wiped the blood off her and said, Iodoro, you don't understand me even half as well as Jera does. This word shocked Iodoro. She then said, if I can't escape with this much. She took a knee and then began to release her red mist aura once again, this time covering her entire body. Jera then told her it's useless, but at that moment she realized she couldn't sense Gestella after she vanished into the red mist. She could feel everything inside the force field, so how is it that she couldn't sense Gestella? The red mist made contact with the force field but didn't cause an explosion. This surprised Iodoro. It was at that moment Iodoro and Jera knew this time was different. The force field began to shake. The event happening left both of them dumbfounded. Jera then noticed that the force field has begun to break, as the cracks began to spread. She then gathered her energy and directed it at the force field to enforce it. Even with her efforts the red mist were still destroying the force field. It was then she realized Gestella was stronger than she looks. Jera, knowing she couldn't hold Gestella alone, then asked Iodoro for help. Iodoro, after he heard Jera, also gathered his powers and used it to enforce the force field. As both of them were holding the force field, Jera then told Iodoro to get his head straight and do it properly, since it's the only way to capture Gestella alive. If they fail they won't get another chance. As the three powerful unique abilities collide, the force field began to spin in an uncontrollable manner. As they both struggled to keep the force field stable, Jera was surprised Gestella could use such power. If they hadn't prepared the force field there was no way they could have captured her alive. As she continues to hold the force field, she then noticed Gestella resistance has reduced, and she was in a weakened state. Jera was happy to see this and she said to Iodoro, it's done, don't stop, keep pouring your power in. Her resistance is stronger than expected but she won't be able to endure much longer. As the battle continued, Jera thought to herself, to capture one of the top 10 alive, that's something I could have never done before. Just thinking about it is making me go crazy with excitement. She looks at Iodoro, who was focused on the battle, and continues her thought. Gestella would never obey us, so I can use that as an excuse to experiment on her. After experimenting, I will turn Gestella to my puppet, and from there I'll move on to the other top 10s. Especially Mayoru, I'll turn her into my puppet too and use her however I please. Gestella then began to take damage from the collision. Iodoro, who noticed first, then told her to stop resisting, since it'll only increase her suffering. In the eyes Gestella, Iodoro's words were useless. She stood up and said, against people like you, I will never yield. They were both surprised by her resolve. In that moment they were all surprised to hear another voice asking them, what the hell are you guys doing? Making a flashy entrance as usual. It was the one and only, the greatest of all time. Kayden break. Yeah, it's me, said Kayden as he released his lighting.